as soon as tomorrow. Meanwhile, air travel disruptions persist, and once the shutdown is over, it will take a while for aviation to return to normal. Forget about what the calendar says. It feels and looks like winter across a wide swath of the Midwest, the Great Lakes, and the South. It's cold as far south as Florida, and up north in some places, quite a bit of snow on the ground. Areas subject to lake effect snow are really getting walloped. It's Veterans Day. President Trump will pay tribute to those who served. He will lay a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier at Arlington National Cemetery. Wall Street opened on this Labor Day, and ahead of the opening bell, the Dow futures up 31 points, while the NASDAQ futures are down 102 points. More details, srnnews.com.
So right now may be the perfect time for you to rethink how you pay for health care. And here's why. This time of year is decision time for a lot of people, but it's also when you can join MediShare and save even more than usual. For many families, joining MediShare means saving about $500 a month, which is a game changer for a lot of people. But what's more, MediShare members like it. We know this from member surveys. They like it a lot. It's a proven thing now. MediShare has been around for over 30 years. It's a Christian community of hundreds of thousands of people now. And here's the thing, too. If you join before November 15th and you mention the promo code SHARE, they will waive your application fee. So you save $100 right off the bat. I'll give you the number here in a second, but just call and you'll get a price within 2 minutes. Again, the deadline is November 15th. So call now. You'll save even more. Here's the number. Call 844-45-BIBLE. That's 844-45-BIBLE. 844-45-BIBLE.
Your home for Goodland High School athletics, the Denver Broncos, Tech Tiger basketball, and the Morning Blitz with Ross Volkmer and Connor Schuh. This is Goodland's Rocket 102.5 KKCI FM Goodland, an NWKS radio station.
Looking for insurance that actually puts you first? At the insurance agency in downtown Goodland, we're independent, which means we work for you. Whether it's auto, home, crop, or business, we shop top carriers to get you the best coverage at the best price. No pushy sales, just honest advice from people who live right here in your community. Give us a call today at 785-899-5011 or stop by 1020 Main in Goodland and let's get you covered. The Insurance Agency. Insurance the way it should be.
Today for Veterans Day, becoming sunny, breezy, and warm. Highs in the 70 to 75 degree range with west-northwesterly winds 15 to 25 gusts to 35 miles per hour. Avoid outdoor burning. Winds lighten, turning southwest 5 to 15 miles per hour this evening and overnight, and lows drop to around 35. Tomorrow will be a bit cooler, highs around 70. South winds generally 10 to 20 miles per hour. Clear skies, lows in the upper 30s, and Thursday and Friday continued warm and dry. Under an upper level ridge of high pressure, near record highs 75 to 80 and lows in the upper 30s and low 40s. Friday, gustier winds ahead of an approaching trough may result in red flag warning criteria. Again, no outdoor burning. Saturday through Monday, a trough will bring cooler temperatures, highs in the upper 40s and lower to mid 50s, lows below freezing and stronger winds and some chances for precipitation. This is meteorologist Chris Schromick in the NWKS Radio Weather Center.
Convenience just got an upgrade. Farmers State Bank of Oakley is excited to announce the opening of our brand new ATM along Highway 40, right next to Sonic Drive-In. Whether you're grabbing a snack or on the go, you can quickly access your cash without the detour. It's banking made easy, right where you need it. Farmers State Bank of Oakley, member FDIC.
Need a porta potty or septic pumping in Northwest Kansas? Call Topside Portables and Pumping, your local family-owned crew. They've got clean, reliable toilets for weddings, farms, and job sites, plus full septic services, RV waste, fertilizer tanks, and more. Available 24/7, because when nature calls, they answer. Call 785-728-8089. That's 728-8089. Topside Portables and Pumping. Reliable, local, clean.
This fall, Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware has everything you could need. Keep your lawn strong with Ultimate Winterizer, the best defense before the frost. Warm up your evenings and create memories with a new fire pit. Or bring home the flavor with a great selection of grills and smokers from brands like Traeger, Blackstone, Green Egg, and more. And right now, the lumber prices are low, and so are the temperatures, making it the best season to tackle those outdoor projects. It's Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware with locations in Goodland and Colby. Open every day but Sunday.
Fall is here, and so are big savings at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland, Kansas. Get a 2026 GMC Sierra 1500 Elevation up to $7,000 off with eligible GMC loyalty. Check out the 26 GMC Arcadia 1.9% APR for well-qualified buyers. On the Chevy side, the 2026 Equinox is 0% APR, and the 26 Colorado Trail Boss gets $500 customer cash or 3.9% APR for well-qualified buyers. Harvest the savings this fall at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland, Kansas. Online at hurlchev.com.
Looking for insurance that actually puts you first? At the insurance agency in downtown Goodland, we're independent, which means we work for you. Whether it's auto, home, crop, or business, we shop top carriers to get you the best coverage at the best price. No pushy sales, just honest advice from people who live right here in your community. Give us a call today at 785-899-5011 or stop by 1020 Main in Goodland and let's get you covered. The insurance agency. Insurance the way it should be.
Are pests making your home or business uncomfortable? Call Pest Away in Goodland, Kansas, serving all of Northwest Kansas. They provide top-notch pest control services to keep your space safe and pest-free. From ants to rodents, termites to spiders, our expert team is here to help with effective, safe, and affordable pest control solutions. Don't wait. Call Pest Away today at 785-728-7166 for fast, reliable service. Your home or business deserves the best protection.
You ready? Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4! It's time for the Morning Blitz with Ross Volkmer.
The amount of money getting thrown around to quarterbacks who haven't done diddly squat is amazing to me.
And Connor Schuh.
He's the new guy.
The High Plains only local sports talk show. Broadcasting live on Goodland's Rocket 102.5 and video streaming on YouTube, Facebook, and X.
Who's got it better than us? Nobody!
Covering it all from the preps.
He's at the 10, the 5, he dives for the end zone, he's in! Touchdown, Cowboys!
To the pros.
Line drive, left field, base hit. Here comes McMahon, he'll score. Ball game!
The Blitz is presented by Hurl Chevrolet GMC, Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware, and F&B Bank. Along with
Equity Bank of Hoxie, Quinter, and Grinnell, the Insurance Agency, Pest Away LLC, Topside Portables and Pumping, and the Farmer State Bank in Oakley.
Let's go to work.
Connor McDavid will dust it off, a pirouette, a shot, he scores! What a goal! Connor McDavid brings the house down!
Garcia gets hit by Olenga. Sides, steps left, goes right, dribble drive, off the glass before the buzzer sounds.
The run for Wiggins, he did it! The Heat win it! A spectacular finish for Miami!
Shotgun snap, fake to Bigsby, back to pass, Hurts goes long, arching spiral down the middle, leaping catch at the goal line, touchdown at the goal line! Devontae Smith.
Looking, no timeouts left. The pass comes to Bain. Bain hoisting at the buzzer.
He drills it. It's magic on a Monday night.
It was magic on a Monday night in the NBA. If you love buzzer beaters and you're not a Cleveland Cavs fan like our own Connor Schuh, but it was quite a night. There were quite a few buzzer beaters. Even Wemby, I think, had a late second shot against the Bulls there, although there was like 30 seconds left. So I don't want to say like that was a super buzzer beater, but anything was probably a little bit better than that Monday Night Football slogfest we saw in the cold of Lambeau. That one was a tough watch last night. Wasn't real pretty.
Yeah, that was pretty disgusting. I enjoyed it a little bit, though, but it felt more like one of those games where rather than a defensive slugfest, it felt like kind of neither offense could really get going instead.
Yeah, it was. I mean, give credit to both defenses. Both defenses were elite last night in the Monday Night Football game between the Eagles and the Packers, which, by the way, if you didn't stay up and watch it, Philadelphia gets the 10-7 win there last night up there in Green Bay. But, yeah, I mean, if you were watching the NBA, some great buzzer-beating shots, including an alley-oop dunk to win it for Miami over the Cleveland Cavaliers. Did that end the 4-game winning streak? Had to have.
Yes, it did.
Yeah, I didn't know if they'd won another game since we'd previously talked about it, but yeah. Anyway, we're off and rolling here on a Tuesday morning. We will have Joe Tillery of Heartland College Sports join us to talk about some Kansas State headlines and other Big 12 news. We'll have in our third segment an update on the picks. I got a gut feeling it really wasn't that great of a weekend, judging by my picks. I don't think it was that good again. A hilarious story in the walk-off coming up as well in today's program. We'll have the front page here in just a little bit. How's the Tuesday morning off to this morning? A good start today?
Not bad. Got here a little earlier than usual. It was like 7:30. Woke up a little earlier, trying to get a little more sleep, hit that 8-hour total. So we're feeling a little more rested.
So you're hitting the hay at what time? Hitting the rack at what time usually?
Usually I'm getting in bed at like 10, 10:30, falling asleep 11, 11:30. That was pushed up a little bit last night.
Right. Okay. Well, good. Glad to know that you're getting your extra rest that you need for that beauty sleep in the morning. So
Hey,
glad
what
to know
can I
that
say?
you're raring to go. But as always, the F&B Bank text line is open at 785-899-2222. If you'd like to be part of the Morning Blitz, we'd love to hear from you throughout the program. Get your thoughts, your comments, and your questions in. We will get to those throughout the show. But let's get rolling on today's program. Lots to get to in the front page.
Read all about it. Read all about it.
The top stories of today.
I got the early edition, hot off the press.
It's the front page on the Morning Blitz.
Front page, really?
One quick thing before we get into the front page, a salute and a happy Veterans Day to all those out there as well, and a salute to our veterans on this Veterans Day. So happy Veterans Day to all those out there, and thank you for your service. Want to get to that too before we dive into the world of sports. We continue with volleyball all-league honors. Saw yesterday that the GWAC released their all-league volleyball teams for the 2025 season. Pretty good showing from Goodland, and Colby had a couple as well. Goodland had 5 honorees. Sophomore McKenna Schick and senior Libby Cure made the first team. It's the first time Libby has been a first-team selection in volleyball. McKenna Schick, the sophomore, her second consecutive first-team selection. McKenna could be looking at being possibly a 4-time first-team all-league caliber player. We'll see if she continues in the next couple of years. Senior setter Hope Bierman got a second-team selection. Freshman Avery Weibel and senior Lauren Linton had honorable mention teams. And then for Colby, they had 2 honorees. Senior Shaylee Holzmeister, first-team selection for the Lady Eagles. Senior Sadie Cheney, an honorable mention selection in the all-GWAC league team. And so for those who don't know how, remember how it kind of goes. So the coaches all kind of get into a room and they kind of just say, okay, here's a name. And then they throw in their names, and whoever gets the most votes, that's usually the GWAC player of the year, which by the way was Holcomb's Delilah Galliard. She was the GWAC player of the year this year. And then Libby, and then I think the way it kind of goes down, it's based upon, vote getting. So you had Libby Kier get the second most, Jaylee Schilling of Cimarron got the third most, and then Shaylee Holzmeister there and Colby fourth, and then Holcomb's Isabella Galliard and Jaylee Wickwer for Holcomb were 5 and 6, and then McKenna Schick was there at number 7 in the first team all GWAC. Just kind of goes by votes and how many they got. And so once again, Delilah Galliard had the most votes. The sophomore is the GWAC player of the year. But that was your first team. As I mentioned, your second team, along with Goodland's own Hope Bierman, was Peyton Gentry of Scott City, Kinley Frank of Cimarron, Malia Ruda of Holcomb, Daniela Alfaro of Hugoton, Krissa Irvin of Scott City, and Michaela Tolbert of Holcomb were on the second team. And then your list of honorable mentions, you had Brady Burkhardt of Cimarron, Emery May of Cimarron, Sadie Cheney of Colby, Avery Weibel and Lauren Linton of Goodland, Zoe Cranston of Holcomb, Emily Tinoco of Hugoton, Kinley Wren of Scott City, Irisabelle Alvarado from Ulysses, as well as with teammates Piper Schultz and Yarden Molina were the honorable mention selections for the 2025 All GWAC volleyball teams. I mentioned the thoughts on McKenna Schick on the possibility of being a 4-time first-teamer if she continues the trend that she's on. Avery Weibel, I thought, probably could have been a second-teamer. She was really, really good this year, but tells you about how good this league has been and the depth of athletes that they have. I think Avery Weibel, the freshman, certainly could have been a second-teamer for Goodland this year based upon what I saw. And Colby only getting 2 after last year. I think they had 4 or 5, but that's what happens. If Colby last year had one of their better seasons in volleyball that they've had in a very long time, because they had a group of kids that came up together and played together a lot and then were seniors and showcased that, almost making it to the state tournament. And then they had a lot of honorees this year, a little bit more younger team, but not to surprise to see Shaylee Holzmeister, who I think this is either I know it's for sure her second, it could be her third first-team selection as an all-league volleyball player. But that's the GWAC all-league volleyball teams. which were once again released released yesterday, I should say. Colby Community College volleyball also dominated the Region 6 or the Kansas Jayhawk Community College Conference Awards. No surprise there. I'm sorry for all the name butchering. If I'm wrong on all these, since you're a PA guy, you can jump in there. But I think Amanda Caputi was named the Conference Player of the Year, the setter, 11.15 assists per set, and guided the Trojans' high-powered offense. The quarterback on the volleyball floor, Amanda Caputi, joined by first-team selections Ella Deidre, Isadora Cararetto, and Carlotta Katai, while Chiara Binda earned a second-team honor. Any thoughts on those names there that I butchered?
I think you missed all of them.
I missed all of them? How would I say them correctly?
Yes. I think it's Ella Dridi, Isadora Cararetto, Carlota Katai, and Chiara Binda.
There you go. That's why we have the PA guy on with us, folks. He can correct my mistakes. So there you go. 3 of those, Dridi, Cararetto, and Katai, were all first-team selections, and Binda was a second-team honor. But 5 conference selections for the Colby Community College Lady Trojans. You still have another day to wait and see if they make the postseason in what would be a bid, just an open bid. They didn't win a conference, so they'll have to get a bid in order to get that done. Let's see. Last night, were you watching K-State women's basketball?
I
put it in the rundown. I didn't know if you were watching a little bit of it last night.
I was just floating around, and I kind of realized, I'm like, oh, that's on. I have ESPN Plus. I might as well just hop in for the end of the game. So I didn't get to catch most of it, but I caught like the last few minutes, which was a little uneventful. The game was already
well in hand.
But who was it? There was a certain one of their guards. The name is escaping me right now.
Sides.
No, it was Lauren something.
Okay, hold on. We'll get it pulled up here. Crack research team.
Yeah, I'm trying to
Lauren
find
something. Okay. Let's see here. Lauren. Oh, geez. Of course I clicked that. That's the wrong. They won. They beat Lamar, by the way, last night. 89-61 did K-State women. Let's see.
I'm a bad fan.
I don't even see Lauren on the roster.
Who am I thinking of? Well, somebody had a really nice assist. Lately.
Okay.
That's what I'm getting at.
Well, I will take it from here and saying that the very balanced scoring in for Kansas State. 4 girls in double figures, led by, once again, Phillipsburg native Taryn Sides, who had 20 points. She went 8 of 12 from the field and 4 of 7 from 3. She continues to be a marksman. But not only did she score, she had 5 assists, 2 boards, and 4 steals. So Taryn Sides playing very, very good early on in I think it's her junior campaign this year. I think it's Izelia Arenas is how you say her name. She had 18 points off the bench, second leading scorer on 7 of 11 scoring. And then Jordan Spicer had 11 points and 10 points from Brandy Herod, who had there were the 4 girls that were in double figures last night for Kansas State in an 89-61 win over Lamar. It was tied after the first quarter at 20-all, and they pulled away significantly the final 3 quarters to get a convincing 28-point victory last night over Lamar. Kansas State. Sorry, what did you say? Not to mention,
there is an underrated part of this box score. They only turned the ball over 5 times. So
very good stat. Very good stat. Up next, they will be coming up here on Thursday. They will be hosting South Dakota, and then they will be hosting Texas A&M. They have to go on the road. Well, they went on the road to SMU and won here, I guess, over the weekend by 2, 46-44. But yeah, got a nice schedule here to kind of get some momentum going before they have their first ranked game around Thanksgiving when they take on North Carolina. I said North Dakota, but North Carolina. But South Dakota is next for the Wildcats, for the Lady Wildcats of Kansas State women's basketball. Let's see. We touched on Monday Night Football a little bit last night. God, it was not a beautiful game, that's for sure. 10-7, the final score. The Eagles get the win. They finally had a touchdown in the fourth quarter because there was just a field goal. I thought for a moment there was a play in the second half where there was a punt, and the ball was right near the goal line. It was tapped in, and then an Eagles player picked it up and ran in the end zone and got tackled. I thought for a second we were going to have a 3-2 ball game. I thought there was going to be a safety. I thought we were going to have 5 total points. I thought this is going to be the final score, 3-2. Scoregami.
It would have been fitting. It would have been very fitting for the type of game that was 3-2 would have been a lot of fun. I think that's a more fun score than 10-7.
I think it would have explained the game a lot, where it was such a defensive struggle. I mean, there was just lots of things in that game. Now the wind was blowing, and I get that. God, there were a lot of points. There were some points I think left on the board, some field goal attempts that weren't attempted. I should say that field goal should have been attempts that weren't attempted. They went for it and didn't get it. Happened a couple times with the Packers there. I mean, it's like they played that game in between the 30s. I mean, if you had a 50-yard line, you got a great game last night because you got to see all the action. I mean, it was right there in the middle of the field. Like I said, a field goal in the third quarter broke a scoreless tie. I think it was the first scoreless first half since like 2009 on Monday Night Football. It'd been a while. But Eagles get a field goal. And then, Texter Andy, I believe, chiming in. Couldn't have been a safety. I know it couldn't have been a safety, but for a second, I thought it would be, Andy. I just thought for a second that it would be.
It looked like it.
So I understand it wasn't, but I thought for a second it could be. Oh, interesting. 3-2 game. Nonetheless, with a couple touchdowns in the fourth quarter to make it 10-7, and the Eagles get the win. How about the decision late in that game where the Eagles had the ball and they decided to go for it on fourth down with like 30 seconds left, didn't get it. The Packers had a short field. Now, tried to kick a field goal, but it was too long, and it was a shank as well from McManus. But, I mean, think about that. Could have bit him in the butt big time.
I guess with the wind and just the way they were, not moving the ball, I think they're like, whatever, might as well just try it. They're not going to do anything on us, even if they get the ball back.
Like I said, I don't know what they were thinking, but that was a very odd decision by Nick Sirianni and the Eagles. Like, it's fourth down. We're going to throw a deep fade to A.J. Brown, trying to go for the jugular, and it didn't work.
No.
And, there were a couple plays, like even before the half, if there's 3 seconds left, the Eagles call timeout, and then they run a play where Hurts just sprints out to the right and just heaves it into the crowd, literally.
Yeah,
just let the clock run if you didn't have a plan.
I don't know about you, but that bothered me because I feel like if you're going to run a play, at least try the Hail Mary.
Yeah, do something. I don't know what that was, but maybe they were looking for a certain look. I don't know, but a lot of things in that game last night. It was supposed to be probably one of the bigger Monday Night Football games of the season, and it kind of was just just kind of a turd, to be honest with you, last night. So Monday Night Football there, Eagles with the win over the Packers, 10-7. I think next week, the next biggest matchup in the NFC, we got Seahawks and Rams next week. Ooh, that'll be good. 8-2 and 7-2.
I like it.
Okay, moving on here on the front page. Let's see here. Big news. We'll talk more on this with our good friend Joe Tillery with the press conference with head coach Chris Kleiman yesterday, talking Kansas State football as they're getting ready to hit the road and go to Oklahoma State, which, by the way, is a place they've never played great in. They've never played good down in Stillwater. So this could be an interesting Saturday for K-State fans. But the Wildcats are also going to be without their leading tackler for the rest of the season, Austin Romaine. The all Big 12 linebacker has decided to not play through a hand injury and has opted for surgery. He posted 66 tackles and had an interception this year. I think even with a club, he had the interception. It was it was last game, I think, or 2 games ago. He intercepted with a club hand. It was impressive. But he's their leading tackler, and he is out. And this just continues the trend of what has been a highly disappointing basketball season. I saw our good friend Riley Gates, when this tweet came out that Romaine missed the rest of the season, he retweeted and said, basketball season time, time for basketball season.
Yeah, time to shift the focus.
They have checked out on football this year there in Manhattan, and it's unfortunate. A year that could have probably been maybe a 9-win, maybe even a 10-win season. If they had probably gotten off, if they need to go, well, they had to get off to a better start, obviously, but maybe could have been that kind of season had things fallen into place. If they had ran Avery Johnson more in the beginning and not let him throw so much, if they had Dylan Edwards for the whole game, and who, by the way, now is no longer going to be part of the team. He's in the portal. It's been a tough year this year for K-State fans, and still need 2 more wins to get to a bowl game, which I think would be a real feather in the cap for Chris Kleiman. We'll see if he can get that done. It's going to be tough. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. 2 wins. If they can win at Oklahoma State, which they rarely do, but Okie State is way, way down, then they're going to have a very tough game at Utah. What was that? Awful?
Yeah, Oklahoma State's just, they've never been this bad.
I know, but I'm telling you, K-State has been really good and gone to Oklahoma State and lost. So, like I said, it's kind of a house of horrors for Kansas State football. So anyway, keep an eye on that. And then what are you going to do tonight? Well, if you got nothing better to do, you can sit down and watch some college basketball. I'm sure that's what our own Connor Schuh is going to be doing tonight. Boy, a great slate. Locally, there's college basketball. You've got Colby Community College hosting Lamar. Are you on the mic for that? Doing some
I am not. I might go. Well, wait, is it even at home? Let's see.
Yes, I think they're at home versus Lamar.
Okay. Might have to go check it out. We'll see.
Also tonight, Fort Hays Tech Northwest men and women are at Northeastern Junior College for a men's and women's doubleheader up in Northeast Colorado. And then also in the hardwood tonight, Kansas returning to Allen Fieldhouse off of that 87-74 loss at North Carolina. They are 1-1 is KU. They will take on the 1-2 Islanders of Texas A&M Corpus Christi. Great stat here. Jayhawks have won 21 straight non-conference home games and are 160-6 versus non-league foes at home under Bill Self. Great quiz question will be quiz question will be, can you name the 6 losses to non-conference foes at home for Bill Self? Could you name those 6 teams?
Oh,
that would be fascinating. I don't know who could pull that off, but that'd be a great one. Also tonight for my fellow Husker fans, Nebraska hosts Maryland Eastern Shore. If you want to watch that. Oh gosh.
Might not be close.
I saw Maryland Eastern Shore. What was the score I saw? I don't know. What was I looking at? Was it Maryland Eastern Shore? I don't know. It was some game. I was looking at something, and I think they took on Georgia Tech and beat them by 2. Or sorry, lost them by 2 in overtime, but they just got routed. I don't think it was Maryland Eastern Shore.
Right.
They just got
routed.
I
think you're right. I remember seeing that. It was like opening night last week, I think.
I'm trying to remember. There have been some really close calls in some of these bye games, and you're just like, really? That team?
I mean, well, we never talked about this, but just real quick, that school from Hawaii, I think it was called Hawaii North Pacific, a D2 school, beat Boise State.
Oh, my gosh.
That genuinely might be the biggest upset in college basketball history. Like, that doesn't happen.
That is impressive, to say the very least. No doubt about it. But, yeah, so tonight you've got college hoops with that. Maryland Eastern Shore, Nebraska and Kansas, Texas A&M Corpus Christi, which, once again, you can listen to Kansas basketball on Fiber Country 97.9 with tip-off at 7 o'clock Central Time, or watch it on the Plus. ESPN Plus is where you can catch that. So, there you go. Anything else we missed on the front page? Anything big breaking news that I missed?
Don't think there's any crazy breaking news right now.
Okay. Anything that's in the back pages that needs some attention? Brian Dable fired for the Giants.
There is that.
He was fired from the Giants, I guess. That's probably one of the first head coaching jobs that this whole entire football season that I'm actually like, okay, I can get behind that one. You know,
yeah, they
4th
were
year and 2-8.
I'm hoping for the Kevin Stefanski gets fired announcement next.
He's been around for a long time. I just don't know if that's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they've had 2 good years under him and a bunch of awful ones. So I don't know. I think it's time.
Andy chimes in and says, Connor, I can tell you that Kansas State lost to Fort Hays State a few years ago. That would be worse. That's what he says.
Oof.
I don't know. I guess you got a Power 4 against a Division 2. I mean, at least Boise State, is kind of, well, Boise State though. Boise State is a pretty good basketball program though.
They were a popular tournament pick out of the Mountain West this year. So that's
they didn't make it in the tournament last year. They played in the Crown. I know that because Nebraska beat them in the Crown. The Crown.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I know, right? Who remembers the Crown? I do. I watched it all. But yeah, so there you go. The front page here on a Tuesday morning on this Veterans Day. All right, we're going to take a break. When we return, we will be visiting with our good friend from Heartland College Sports. Joe Tillery is going to join us next, so stick around. Plenty more to get to here on a Tuesday edition of the Morning Blitz.
Fall is here, and so are big savings at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland, Kansas. Get a 2026 GMC Sierra 1500 Elevation up to $7,000 off with eligible GMC loyalty. Check out the 26 GMC Arcadia 1.9% APR for well-qualified buyers. On the Chevy side, the 2026 Equinox is 0% APR, and the 26 Colorado Trail Boss gets $500 customer cash or 3.9% APR for well-qualified buyers. Harvest the savings this fall at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland, Kansas. Online at hurlchev.com.
If you're shopping for a banking institution, visit with Equity Bank of Hoxie, Grinnell, and Quinter, Kansas. The Equity Bank is heavily invested in local business and activities contributing in many ways back to their community. Their employees are involved with many organizations and area events. Plus, a lot of experience comes with that staff. You'll find valuable local assistance when you bank at the Equity Bank of Hoxie, Grinnell, Quinter, and other locations in Western Kansas. The Equity Bank, member FDIC.
It's time for a check of the markets with the Anderson Trade Group on the Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio Network.
Good morning, Jared Law with the Andersons in Overland Park, Kansas with your morning market update. It's Tuesday, November 11th. D's corn down 1, 428 3/4. March down 1 at 443 1/2. December down 3/4 cent at 467. Soybeans on the Jan down 6 1/2 at 1123 1/2. March down 6 at 1133 1/4. KC wheat on the December down 5 1/4 at 521 3/4. March down 4 1/4 at 535. July at 26 down 3 3/4 at 559 1/2. Chicago wheat on the December down 2 3/4 at 533. Feeder cattle yesterday finished at 335.65. Live cattle 228.55. Wing hogs 82.77 1/2. Crude oil futures up 63 cents a barrel at 60.76. Gold futures up $28 an ounce, 4,140.10 cents. Silver up 57 cents at 50.75. U.S. dollar index down 30 points at 99.16. Dow futures up 26 at 47,488. S&P futures down 17 at 6,839. Need to move any cash grain or want to talk about risk management, you can reach out to myself, Jared Law, Tom Suter, or Tyler Goshen, 913-748-3000. If you're out in Colorado, you can reach out to John Hinke or John Stiles at 970-744-4484.
The Anderson Trade Group, proud market partners with Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio. Find out more at andersongrain.com. The risk of loss through trading futures and or options is substantial, and each investor and or trader must consider whether this is a suitable investment. Past performance, whether actual or indicated, is not indicative of future results. The Anderson Trade Group has no guarantee that the advice given will result in profitable trades.
35 pounds of nitrogen and phosphorus, $50 an acre. Source and blueprint by Sound Agriculture. Half the cost, same yield potential. Growers are saving $25,000 on every 1,000 acres of corn. With Sound's ROI guarantee, you can't lose. In today's markets, every input dollar matters. Don't just spend more, make your seed, chemical, and fertilizer dollars go further. Smoky Valley Ag delivers seed, chemical, agronomy, and same-day or next-day delivery. Call 785-645-8010. Smoky Valley Ag, your reliable source for growth.
Kansas Corn reminds you that E15 fuel is the right choice for every kind of driver. For the car enthusiast, E15 has higher octane. For the thrifty driver, E15 is priced lower than regular unleaded. For the nature lover, E15 provides cleaner air. For the shopper who buys local, E15 has more ethanol from our Kansas corn farms. Choose E15 for a higher octane, lower price, and cleaner American fuel. This message from the Kansas Corn Commission. Learn more at kscorn.com.
It's the Morning Blitz.
We're having a great time, couple of laughs, everything's nice.
Weekday mornings from 7 to 8 Mountain, 8 to 9 Central.
Once again, happy Veterans Day to all those out there, and thanks to those that served. I did just get a news release coming from Keisha here just moments ago that active military and veterans are welcome to attend a high school football playoff game free of charge. Get in for free if you want to, if you're nice. Veteran. So I like that. And by the way, I did do some research on that Maryland Eastern Shore game. They did lose to Virginia. They did lose to Georgia Tech by 4 in overtime. So how bad is Georgia Tech? Because by the way, they turned around and played Georgia to Maryland Eastern Shore and lost 94-29.
So Georgia Tech's had a couple of bad years. They're in some dog days in basketball.
Yeah, long time ago from the days of Chris Bosch. He was a Yellow Jacket, I'm pretty sure. I think that's
he
right.
Was.
So,
him and Jarrett Jack.
Jarrett Jack. There we go. Get Joe Tillery on the screen. He knows some of these names. I see him bobbing his head. Morning, Joe. How we doing, buddy?
I'm good. How about you fellas?
Good. You want to name a random college basketball player from your youth?
Good question. I'm still thinking back, and unfortunately, I'm still in pain due to that comment about Fort Hays State beating Kansas State. That one's still hurting the soul a little bit. That was a pretty dark year. I'm not
Do you
going to
remember
lie.
that game? Do you remember that game at all?
Yeah, I remember that game, and it was the game that I was like, all right, this whole thing with Bruce Weber, it's got to end. Like, you cannot keep this going. I thought it should have ended, honestly, a little bit prior, but yeah, that one was brutal. That was like actually the worst I've felt at a live sporting event, in the stands, watching a basketball game unfold. I remember I got texts from my buddies, a lot of them who went, Kansas. I had a couple buddies at Fort Hays, and they're like, what is this team? What did you just, what is, like, what are you doing? And I was like, dude, I have no control over this, but that was absolutely pitiful. But yeah, that one hurts the soul a lot. I'm not going to lie. That one hurts.
Yeah, I can bet. I can bet that was a real stinger. And I'm guessing Fort Hays State that year probably went on had a pretty good showing if I had to take a stab. They've been a pretty respectable Division II program. But
yeah, I mean, there were 5 white guys shooting 100% from 3 on the arc. So they probably won a lot of games. But yeah, that was a pitiful one. I remember Mike McGurl got cooked by some dude that probably had one offer coming out of college. But whatever, it is what it is.
So good. Joe Tillery, our guest here on the Morning Blitz, join us on the Hurl Chevrolet GMC video stream. I see you got your Cats basketball hat on. I tell you, we'll start there. What are your thoughts on this Wildcats basketball team? It's I know it's only a couple of games in, but another season where Jerome Tang has pretty much flipped the entire roster. And so where are you sitting as you've seen a couple of games here of this K-State basketball team?
Well, there's aspects that I'm really, really excited about, and there's also some stuff that I'm like, all right, that kind of needs to be figured out, especially when you get to the heart of Big 12 play. But for now, you got to admit, like, this backcourt is special. I mean, PJ Haggerty alone makes the backcourt special. The guy's averaging 25, 7, and 5 already off the rip. The dude looks every bit of the All-American he was at Memphis, and even a little bit better than he was last season. But, the additions around him, Nate Johnson has been, I know he's the MAC player of the year, but has been better than advertised. Dang near triple-double his first night in the Big 12. And then Avdi Bashir, that dude can go off at any moment from the half court and pull up threes. But, the front court has left me a little bit nervous because I think there's going to be a lot of games you need your backcourt to be absolutely perfect to win. And I don't think the front court's going to give you what you need when you need it. So that's kind of my area of concern. But, I never thought a Jerome Tang team, even for a span of 2 games, would average 98 points. I mean, you've seen between the 2 exhibition games and 2 regular season games now, the team's averaging like 98.5 points per game. That is ridiculous. So if they can figure out the defensive end, that's going to be helpful. Hopefully that stays up. Obviously you're playing teams with bad defenses, but they got Cal coming on Thursday, so that'll be a big test. But I like what I've seen so far.
For those new transfers, who's been your favorite to watch so far?
I mean, it's hard not to just immediately say PJ Haggerty, but Nate Johnson has been so fun. Like, the dude feels like that kind of throwback player. I love that term, but he's averaging 15.5. He's got 8 boards a game and 7 assists per game. It's only been 2 games, so the sample size is small, but feels like a dude that can actually dominate on the defensive end. And we've seen less and less of that in college basketball. What the reason for that is, I'm not sure, but I think back to guys like a Jamal Shed that could dominate both ends of the court. That's kind of where I'm at with him. I don't think it's necessarily the same comp, but you like to see that. I think Nate Johnson's kind of my early de facto pick there.
Joe, this basketball team, I think one of the things that people thought about initially is that didn't know about size-wise, how they're going to handle it. But I get the sense that a lot of people think that, heck, when they went on this great run, they didn't have a ton of size, back to the Elite Eight. Is that what you're kind of thinking with this team too again?
I think so. I still think there was more of a developmental floor in that season than there has been this year. Like Naquan Tomlin, obviously this situation ended poorly at Kansas State, went on to Memphis, now with the Cleveland Cavaliers. He was a solid talent, and I think you saw some fundamental pieces of his game even early on when it looked really uncoordinated or wasn't where it was. This team, I'm left wondering if there's anyone that could scratch half of what he became in his sophomore year with Kansas State. I'm pretty dang worried about this front court, but I do think that, like, college basketball is won by guards. PJ Haggerty alone is going to keep you in games. And I think the thing that helps out with the front court is his ability to get to the free throw line and slow the game down. You don't have to worry about transition offense as much. You don't have to worry about getting back on defense too terribly much because PJ Haggerty at any time can get somebody off their feet. He's averaging like 8 attempts from the free throw line per game already. So that's encouraging to see, but I think there's an element to that, but I'm still waiting. I'm holding my thoughts there to see what we look like against the high major team.
No, understandably so. What are your thoughts on David Castillo? You know, he was a big-time recruit for Jerome Tang. Do you think this is the year? It looks like it could be the start of a takeoff for him this year.
I think it could be, man. He was really, really exciting this past game. You know, pulling up, had 4 or 5 threes, perfect day shooting, which was incredible. But, you know, I was really, really, really hard on the kid last season. I think it was a lot of unfair expectations placed on the kid, probably partially myself included, of those that did jump into that, because he was the highest recruit you've had at Kansas State in a long, long time coming out of high school. But it didn't feel like the moment was there for him last season. And it felt like there's a lot of guys kind of in that role last season that were not necessarily taking a spot, but David Castillo just wasn't ready to be on the court consistently yet. I don't know that I'd bank and say he's going to average 10 a game for the Cats, but he's already solidified himself as like, okay, first guy off the bench when you had that guard rotation. I feel like it can be an effective player, but I'm excited to see what the junior version or the senior version of David Castillo looks like, because I feel like he's one of those rare guys in college basketball that truly could be loyal for 3 or 4 years. Obviously, I think the team has to make the tournament and figure some stuff out if Jerome Tang is going to be in Manhattan for a couple more years. But David Castillo is an exciting guy to watch now, and I'm really hoping to see it continue against Cal.
You brought up an interesting point there at the end of that comment about Jerome Tang for a couple more years. I mean, what are your expectations for Coach Tang this season, and is his seat at all warm?
I think it's a little bit warm, especially among the fan base. But the thing is his buyout is so astronomically high. We saw the thing with, you know, he almost goes to Arkansas. Gene Taylor gives him an extension or a raise, whatever the process was. And that buyout got to the point where it's like you'd be almost throwing the athletic department under the bus for the foreseeable future if you paid whatever it is, $18 million, whatever it is, $19 million, something crazy to get out of the contract. But I think Jerome Tang is a perfect person for Manhattan, Kansas. And he's done the things this offseason that have left me to be really encouraged. He went out and hired some of his old Baylor guys. Matthew Driscoll was at, I think it was South Florida a couple years ago. He's been an incredible offensive mind. He's kind of turned over the offense to him, and this team's averaging, 100 points a night basically already in a small sample size. But a typical Jerome Tang team's looking like 65 a game, and they're locking down on defense. I'm encouraged that he added the guys around him that have really helped. But I do think it's kind of okay. You need to get to the tournament, and I'm not even gonna say you have to win a game in the tournament. But if you can get there, it'll ease a lot of the tension in Manhattan for everybody everywhere.
Joe, the three-point shooting through the first 2 games has been impressive. I mean, as a team, Kansas State shooting 56% from 3. Is that something you think that's going to continue as they get into tougher competition?
I think it will to an extent. I don't know if it'll stay at 56%, to tell you the truth, but I could see this team very well finishing well above 40%. I think they've got the right guys that are shooting incredible. I don't know that David Castillo is going to go 5 for 5 from 3. I don't know that Nate Johnson is going to continue as good of his shot as he's been. Like, that was kind of the knock at him at Akron last season, the last couple of years actually, where, okay, he's a great player, incredibly defensive player, strong, physical, fast, can get out in transition, but he's shooting 30% from 3. This season he's above 40%, and that was not something I saw coming out, to be honest with you. PJ Haggerty, I think, will be right around 40, but Abdi Bashir gives this team that next level, more than we saw last season with Brendan Husson, and I think he was a pretty solid shooter, to say the least, but I feel like Abdi Bashir just has this next level of, okay, it doesn't matter what the defense is doing. It doesn't matter where I'm pulling up from. This ball's going in. He sees one hit the net, and then he's going off for 4 in a row. So I would expect this team to finish upwards of 40. I just don't know that it'll be as astronomically high as it is right now.
One more on basketball for me. Matthew Driscoll, the associate head coach, a lot of people have been excited because of his offensive acumen. I mean, how much of an impact do you think he's going to make on this year's team?
I think it's going to be huge. I think he's truly transformed him and Bill Peterson. I should also mention him, who's worked a little bit more with the bigs, but he's been the kind of the workout conditioning coach that's really gotten everybody in shape on top of what they already were. I think Matthew Driscoll, like, he's got players in his system that are perfect for him. I think Abdi Bashir is the perfect Matthew Driscoll player because he's, he talks about it. The best shot is the best shot you can get. Doesn't matter if it's 2 seconds into the shot clock or if it's the last second of the shot clock. We want the best shot that's available for us, whether it's a 3, whether it's a 2. And I think he plays the analytics a lot, but it's also just get the best look. Don't force up a contested 2 when you have a wide open 3. And in years past, it hasn't been that way, but I think he's going to do a ton. And it's kind of tough to attribute what specifically goes to each coach and what each person's responsible for. But at least in the terms of offensive production, you've already seen that with the backcourt. Hoping to see a little bit more in the front court, but I think his praise deserves to be spoken loudly in Manhattan.
Joe Tillery is our guest here on the Morning Blitz. He does the Joe Tillery show on YouTube. You can check him out there. You've got, I saw this from another K-State follower that I follow on Twitter, and he was like, it was after the news of Austin Romaine is out for the year with that hand surgery, and he goes, well, time for basketball season. So where do you stand on this K-State football season?
Yeah, it feels like you ever have one of those days where you wake up and like, say you're going to brush your teeth and you put your toothbrush back in the cabinet and you're holding the toothpaste like an idiot instead of the other way around. It feels like the season has been a small microcosm of that every single week. Where, okay, it started in Ireland and you lose to what is now a crummy Iowa State team, at the time pretty solid. And then from that moment on, you never fully got back. I mean, you beat up UCF, you beat a couple different teams that you should beat. But this season, this team, like, I think the best part of this season has been Avery Johnson. And I don't know that I would have said that coming into the season. I would have said, like, okay, Dylan Edwards is going to be that guy. Now he's going to be in the portal. We'll see what happens next. Austin Romaine's going to be a top 2-3 round, linebacker off the board. Now he's missing the last 3 of the season. It just feels like bits and pieces continue to get stacked against you. But it is basketball season. But I tell you what, I'm preparing to watch an eventful portal class, whether that's positive or negative, likely negative based off the fact they might finish 6-6. I mean, I think that's probably where they're going to be. I don't see them winning on the road at Utah, but I could see them beating Oklahoma State and Colorado. Those games aren't crazy, though Stillwater does have some magic about it. But I feel like there's been aspects of it I've been pleased with, but the bulk of it has just been like, all right, the deck wasn't dealt to us right this year, and we definitely didn't play our cards right. Whether that's an administration thing, whether that's roster building, whether that's execution, whether it's coaching, it just feels like you could draw a card and it'll have 52 different reasons on it. One of those 52 is a massive reason as to why the season hasn't gone the way it should have.
And you kind of answered the question a little bit, but how likely do you think it is that K-State makes a bowl game?
I feel like it's probably a 73% chance. That's where I'm going to sit at right now, because could I see Hoss Haney come back and absolutely shred Kansas State's defense with no Austin Romaine? I absolutely could. Unfortunately, that's a scary reality. If you lose on the road in Stillwater, I mean, we have to have larger questions about Chris Kleiman. I'm going to be honest about that one. I think he's been an incredible coach. But, guys, I think the three of us, as the only 3 dudes on offense, might be in a one-score game with Oklahoma State. Like, it is just not a good football team over there, not a good product. But it just feels like, okay, Oklahoma State's not going to beat you. Kansas State a 19-point favorite. Not that that's really mattered this season for K-State. And then Colorado has been, you guys are in that area. You've seen a lot of the Colorado fans. It's been a brutal season for Deion Sanders and the product out that way. I feel like you win those 2 games. I feel like it's about 35% chance you win on the road at Utah, maybe even less than that. So I've got us finishing 6-6. Could it be 5-7? Absolutely. I wouldn't put anything past this team, though.
You mentioned the 6-6. I mean, yes, it's a disappointment from what the expectations were to start the season, but to scrounge all the pieces together and to have the injuries and the drama that apparently, and we'll get to that in a little bit here, and the drama that's happened off the field, to scrounge and get to a bowl game, I would think that'd still be a pretty darn good coaching job from Coach Kleiman.
I think so. I think there's aspects of what people have been dissatisfied with Coach Kleiman in terms of how we manage the offseason. That's been a big one for me. Is there's a lot of conversation about, okay, we're cutting out basically, I don't know the exact number, so I could be paraphrasing here, but instead of using these 2 weeks for practice, we're going to use it more for conditioning, for strength conditioning, try to get our guys in the best shape possible to last this full season. And for whatever reason, it felt like maybe that's the fact they didn't spend enough time on the game plan. Maybe they didn't do XYZ thing, but they came out super flat, didn't look good, and they still sustained more injuries than I've seen in years past. That's not Chris Kleiman's fault, but like, I saw a tweet the other day, and it was from one of my K-State guys, and he said, if I told you Dylan Edwards would play basically 2 games for Kansas State, redshirt the year, if I told you Austin Romaine would miss 3 games, Chase Brown would be banged up for 3, if I told you the best offensive lineman wouldn't play and the best defensive lineman and Tobias and Somni would be done for the year, how good would you feel about this team? And I was like, yeah, that's a pretty glaring thing to say. I mean, 6-6 at that point is probably where I'd project us, maybe 7-5 if the ball bounces one way or the other. But it's just an interesting spot in Manhattan. I know the Colin Klein stuff has definitely put more pressure on the job at Kansas State. I don't necessarily anticipate any type of massive moves happening unless something crazy happens, but it doesn't feel like Kansas State's ready to make a massive move to try to flip this thing up, especially when consistency has been there, even though that might not be the sexiest thing for fans to talk about, myself included. I've been on very vocal about don't get left behind in the next era, but it's just kind of a weird spot. But I tell you what, there's been good things and bad things for sure to take away.
I think it'd be very hard for Gene Taylor to fire his great friend. I think that'd be very, very hard for him to do. So I think he's going to get as long a runway. Chris Kleiman, I'm saying here, would what's the insider scoop on the Dylan Edwards situation? What do you know that I don't know? Which, let me tell you, is not very much.
That's fair. So I want to preface and say all of this information could be completely wrong. So if, just
all
tossing
right.
that out there is my PSA.
All right.
This is
Thank you.
based off what I've heard, but also based off what I'm inferring in some aspects as well. I had heard in the offseason, and this had kind of been talked about a little bit here on message boards, so I'm not breaking anything crazy, but I had heard from a buddy of mine that had said, okay, Dylan Edwards, when the going is going to be going good, he's going to be one of the best players in college football. Like when the offense is humming, even without Dylan in the game plan, say the offense around like Avery's dealing, the offensive line's creating holes, Dylan will be a top 5 player in college football. When the going is tough, when the defensive line is crowding the line of scrimmage, when Avery Johnson can't get stuff going, I wouldn't bank on Dylan Edwards being a reliable piece who could even play. And I was really confused about that. So I kind of pried and I was like, man, I kind of shoved it into a box. You know what? Dylan's going to be fine. Everything's there for the taking for him. Obviously, there's concerns because the guy's 5'6". He's built, but he's a smaller dude. Injuries are always a risk. But I had asked about that, and basically what I had been told was Dylan Edwards had a lot of mental issues going on with the game of football, so much so that he'd worked with a team sports psychologist at times throughout the offseason. And I don't know whether I chalk that up to be just stuff added on to make the situation look a little bit different or not, but I also totally believe that. I think the guy's had some issues really keeping his confidence high, and you see that a lot in basketball where guys just can't make their shots, they can't hit their routine stuff. Dylan Edwards, it felt like, kind of fell into that routine, and it just went off the rails. There's been conversation of how severe was the injury? Was there an actual injury? Was it this? Was it that? I had heard a lot of back and forth between Dylan Edwards, the team doctor, several doctors in the area. There's been a lot of consternation about that. I'm not sure which way to voice my opinion on that one, but there was the initial worry of, okay, what was the initial injury in Ireland? Because on the play he went down, I guess he got rolled up on a little bit. Then there's speculation that he went over the sidelines, kicked the bench, and then had a foot fracture because of that. Like, there's a lot of, I have no idea what's going on there, but It just feels like a sitcom every week. And that's not to say Dylan's like a sitcom character. I'm not trying to say that, but the whole situation just felt like, I don't know how we can focus on the game of football when we have these other 80,000 things going on. And so I've phrased it a little bit. I made a video about it yesterday talking about the Romaine and Dylan Edwards situation. I'm interested to see how Kansas State comes out next week. I think our running back room is absolutely piss poor outside of Dylan Edwards. I'll toss that out there. So I don't think there's going to be a crazy bounce back. But you know when a coach gets fired, you have to mention Brian Dable. We'll see what happens for the Giants. I think Mike Kafka is a smart dude, but interim head coaches, that next week there's always a bounce back. When the locker room just exhales, they're like, you know what? Let's focus on football. I'm interested to see if you see a more lifelike Kansas State early on in that game, because K-State started out slow multiple times this season, except for that Kansas game. I'm interested to see if you see a lot of guys just, go all out in the game, see if it kind of settles in easy. The running game I still don't think will be great, but I could see the team finding a little bit more momentum now that thing's just kind of like the situation has left the building. And not saying Dylan's a situation, but the stories, the back and forth, the questioning, like when that stuff all goes away, it feels like, all right, we can get back to square one. It just didn't work out and chalk it up that way.
Okay, I'll let you go on this, I guess. So if you had to put a percentage on the Dylan Edwards distraction, we're going to call it that, how much would you give it to possibly the struggles of this season?
It's a good question, because I think our offensive line is our biggest issue. I think they're awful. I'll say that right now. But on a 0 to 100 scale, I think really if you all encompass all of the Dylan Edwards situation here this season, because we saw how elite he was against UCF. You saw how good he can be. But that stop and go momentum of, okay, he's going to play this week. His agent says this, his family's saying this, his supporters are saying this. Chris Kleiman doesn't know what's going on. He's just going to leave it vague and see what happens. I'd probably say 65%, maybe even just 60% of this. Not that the season's different. Like if Dylan Edwards isn't on the team, we're still bad at football. I'll tell you right now. But I think there's a lot of extra stuff off the field that was really hurting the locker room. And I just think that's why it didn't work out at Kansas State.
Wow. That is a much bigger number than I thought it was going to be. I thought if you said anything over 25 or 30%, I'd be like, wow. I'd be like,
Yeah.
that's a pretty big number. But to 60%.
And I don't think he's the reason we're bad.
In my mind, I will let you go for this, but in my mind, I'm just like, if it's 60%, if you took that guy out and didn't have him on the team this year, you're saying you're probably looking at maybe three more wins at this point in time. Possibly. That's I know you say the football team is bad, and I get that, and the line sucks, and I get that, and the running back room, I get that. But if you take out a 60% cancer, we'll call it that, you're going to be a better team.
I think in general, the practice reps change. Everybody looks at the job a little bit different. I don't think Joe Jackson gets, running back one material runs, but the offense has to adjust because they went all offseason knowing Dylan Edwards is the guy, and they couldn't count on him to get through a couple of games. There's definitely some injury there. There's definitely some off-the-field stuff there. But in general, I would say this team's probably 2 games better because that UCF game is still in without Dylan Edwards being Dylan Edwards, in my opinion. And then I think either the Army game or the Arizona game flips to you. Just because the rushing attack, it was so bad regardless of who was in there. I feel like the team would adjust early on, start throwing the ball, because Avery's been really good down the field this season, only turned the football over a handful of times. But then again, he's a superstar talent. I think he'll land on somewhere nice this offseason. I am apprehensive to see where he goes, what the coaching staff cuts out a role for him, because he's going into his final year of eligibility. I just don't see the guy taking a step forward and being a reliable piece in college football.
Joe Tillery of the Joe Tillery. So, Joe, it's always great to catch up, my friend. Thank you so much for the time. Appreciate you, and we'll catch up soon, all right?
Absolutely, fellas. Thank you for having me.
Once again, great stuff there from Joe Tillery. We'll take our final break, come back, and wrap up the show next here on a Tuesday. It's been the Blitz.
It's the most wonderful time of the year. NWKS Radio, along with Colby Convention and Visitors Bureau, bring you the 5th annual Christmas Marketplace, the biggest Christmas show in the tri-state area. November 28th, 29th, and 30th at the Colby Event Center. Don't miss out on showing your products to a huge crowd. Sign up for your booth at nwksradio.net. The NWKS Christmas Marketplace, where the holidays begin.
Light up the night at Goodland's annual Holiday of Lights Parade, Friday, November 28th. Lineup starts at 6, parade at 6:30, down Main Street. Prize for most luminous, most original, and more. Register by November 27th at the Sherman County Committee of Development and help Goodland shine bright.
When fraud strikes, every second counts. At FNB Bank, we take your security seriously. Our local team monitors for suspicious activity and responds fast, so small issues don't turn into bigger problems. I'm Jessica Von Little at FNB Bank. We are your first line of defense, protecting you, your money, and your peace of mind. FNB Bank, local, trusted, here for you. Member FDIC.
Save big on everything at Menards. We're your destination for everything electrical. Whether you're trying to create the perfect ambience with a stylish new dimmer or seeking the right USB outlet to charge your mobile devices, Menards carries a wide selection of dimmers, switches, and outlets from Legrand to fit your everyday needs. Save big money on Legrand outlets now at Menards. Plus, check out our weekly flyer on menards.com for more great deals happening now.
Save big money at Menards. Whether it's touchdowns, home runs, or buzzer beaters, we've got you covered. It's the Morning Blitz.
I'm sorry, but I am still floored on that stat there from Joe and his thoughts. 60% of the problem could have been Dylan Edwards just being on the team?
That's a lot.
That is a humongous percentage, people. I may have to come back again on tomorrow's show. That is just nuts. All right.
Yes.
Update on the picks. How do we do on picks this week? I don't think it was great.
We got to move. Of course, we both went 7-7, which is
500 ball. All right.
How it typically ends up going. All right. We both got the Kansas-Arizona game wrong. I had Arizona covering. You had the over. Neither happened.
Okay.
Colorado, West Virginia. This was my 2-pick game. I got both right. I had the under and West Virginia covering. You had West Virginia covering. That hit. Nebraska, UCLA. I had UCLA covering. Nope. Nebraska won. You got one on there.
Take the dub.
Raiders, Broncos, we already went over that.
Yeah.
Pats, Bucks. I had the Bucks covering. They did not. And you had the Pats. Oh, whoops. I don't know why I put no on that. You went 8-6.
Oh, you boy.
Yes. So, okay. So you got that one.
I think I took the Pats if I did in that game. I think I did.
You did. You had the Pats covering, and they covered. Eagles, Packers. We both had the Eagles covering. They did just barely. Oregon and Iowa. I had Iowa covering. They did. You had Oregon winning. They did. Tulane, Memphis. I had Memphis covering. Well, we both had Memphis covering. They did not. They lost.
Tulane, Coach Summerall getting her done.
BYU, Texas Tech. We both had BYU covering, and Texas Tech just beat them up.
Yeah, that was a beatdown.
That was
Epic
tough.
Proportions.
Auburn,
Texas Tech really flexed. We haven't talked about that game, but they super flexed in that.
They
game.
did. That was very impressive.
Think about their 2 wins. They beat Utah and BYU this year.
They're
That's
legit.
hard.
They're a good football team. I can confirm. Auburn and Vandy. Vandy barely covered for both of us in overtime by a touchdown. Sam Houston State and Oregon State. Sam Houston won, so the Beavs did not cover. We both picked Oregon State to cover.
There was a fake news story, too, about how they fired the interim coach and are going to another coach, Oregon State, after the loss.
Oh, my God.
There was a fake news story out there like, oh, they fired the interim coach. They're going to go to the other coach now since he lost to Sam Houston State.
I think I got punked by that. My buddy sent that to a couple of us, and I'm like, no way. I guess that's what happens when you lose to Sam Houston.
Yeah.
I guess not. Kansas basketball against North Carolina. Men's basketball. I had North Carolina winning.
I had that wrong.
You had KU winning.
Yep.
And then it's the inverse on the next one. Bama at St. John's. I had St. John's covering. They did not. They lost by like 15. And Bama did cover.
Roll Tide.
So there's your picks.
What's the overall records? We have those up?
You are now 37-36. And I'm lagging right now. I'm 33-40.
Okay. I got a winning record, but just barely. By the way, before the walk-off, Joe Tillery just texted me. He goes, I forgot to mention this. He goes, I would keep eyes on the K-State running backs this weekend in Stillwater. Believe there will be something exciting take place. A teaser.
Interesting.
Interesting. Tune in to watch K-State and Oklahoma State. Might see something exciting in the Kansas State backfield. All right, we got to get to the walk-off.
And back lifts his ball high and deep to right. How about a walk-off Gray? Thomas to the 10. Denver's going on the New England. They win it on the first play of overtime. Mahomes flings it. It's there. Hardman. Jackpot. Kansas City.
All right. Before we get out of here, two quick things. So a couple of really big basketball games tonight, ranked on ranked opponents. Have you seen these? Louisville, Kentucky, followed by a great showing of what will be Creighton, Gonzaga.
Whew.
Big time games. Really
There's
good
a
ones.
couple more too. Wake Forest, Michigan, Florida State, Florida.
Yeah, really good game tonight in college basketball. And a great story here. I saw this. So apparently a gamer has decided to throw his name in for the UCLA football job. Sean Peake wrote to the UCLA athletic director Martin Gerard in September that his college football video game success was worth consideration. He wrote, simply, I don't lose. He also detailed how he has maxed out his entire roster with the 99 overall ratings and is consistently signing 5-star recruits. He believes because he's a great video game college football player that he should be the head coach at UCLA. Can you talk about some serious huevos on a guy to write an email to Martin Gerard?
I respect it. I mean, I respect his attempt, but I don't
Because
think that's
I can turn UCLA into a powerhouse under my leadership. He has not heard back from Gerard on the job. No duh.
Yeah,
Imagine
wonder
that news.
I don't know if he has
Yeah.
any real life recruiting pull. Not sure if that's gonna work.
Oh my gosh. That is just so my leadership style is simple. Go for 2 every time, run Hail Marys on first down, and always make sure my players look good in alternate uniforms.
That's a great philosophy.
Please let me know when I can expect my headset, whistle, and university credit card for recruiting trips. That is ridiculously dumb. That'll do it for us today. For Connor Schuh, I'm Ross Volkmer. We'll see you back here tomorrow on 20 Hours with the Blitz.